Hey folks, just a bit of a quick first impressions, I guess, just basic info if you're looking to get one of these X Series Fallknivens really early on in the piece, just so you kind of know what you're getting into. Now this is basically a new knife, so this isn't a review or anything, and this is just going to be a really short video where I just talk you through what I've noticed is new. So this is the S1 XB, so this is the black coated one. First thing I'll do is I'll unlock it from its new lockable sheath. So there you go. I'll get to the sheath in a second, but looking at the knife, obviously this is a tall full tang knife, so a full tang in terms of not only the same steel from the blade running through the handle, but they've made the tang as thick as the handle scale, as the handle sort of slab, so that is unlike a normal S1, you've got a slab handle construction. So Fallknivens are generally completely enclosed, so having to have a bit of a stick tang or a thinner tang, still coming through to a full pommel at the end, but I guess they've sort of tapped into what I think is the Western or the American market, in particular enjoying sort of slightly more robust feeling knives. Not that I think the Fallknivens haven't ever really had any issues with being robust, but they've gone that extra little bit to, I guess, appeal to a certain market, I'd imagine. The differences between the handles, not only in the slab style now, is that this is still the thermo run material, which is like their sort of rubber plastic, really well performing stuff apparently. They've gone with a slightly different texture. It's actually a kind of sharper or more pyramid style texture on each of the little tiny gripping nodules, I guess you'd call them. The standard sort of S, F and A series all have like the same kind of appearance, but it's a bit more rounded over. The little bumps are more sort of rounded, like hill-like bumps, rather than these, which are a bit more triangular. I guess they're doing that to make it so, because you do now have this smoother part here, so you've still got a good amount of grip. It's a little bit less comfortable, I would say, to really bear down on with an ungloved hand, but it does provide probably the same or even better levels of grip. So I mean, that's often a trade that you have to make. So yes, the handle is different in that way, as well as having the lanyards being moved finally, some would say. So the pommel, which is the conclusion of the full tang, now has the lanyard hole in the end there. Usually it would be about where this third rivet is here, or the third scale screw is here, and people used to complain that the strap that would go across the knife in the sheath would sit over the lanyard hole. So although there's not that issue on the sheath anymore, they've still got rid of that, which is fine with me. I've never used a lanyard on my knife anyway, so it doesn't bother me, but that's something I've noticed. So this is the black coated version. This is Fallkniven's new coating. I used to have an A1 in their old coating, and it was a relatively robust coating, but it did come off fairly quickly. This reminds me a lot of the Rockstead knives coating. It's one of those really sort of reflective coatings. Some black coatings are really opaque and they seem to sort of suck in the light and not reflect light. This one reflects a lot of light, and it actually, at certain angles, it doesn't even look like it's coated. It looks just like a dark steel. So very interesting. They put it at a Rockwell. The Rockwell hardness tested the coating, not the steel, but the coating they're putting at 83, and they're saying that means it's really hard and it's not going to come off. I would probably argue that it's more about how it's adhered or how it's baked on, or how it's stuck to the blade, rather than how hard the coating is, because that's what's going to be resisting the friction. But we shall see. I'll be taking this to the knife lab fairly soon and seeing how this coating goes compared to some other coatings. So there's that too. There's a bit of the steel sort of forward finger choil, or sort of guard, I guess you'd say, just inclusive of the knife blank. So that's pretty cool. It's not the most comfortable thing to rest your hand against, but it's much more stable than, I guess, those rubberized ones that you would just be inclusive in the old handles. So I'll be showing some side-by-sides for illustration of what I'm talking about. The overall blade shape with the S1 is largely unchanged. So the S1 forest knife shape is roughly this. There's some differences in terms of, I think, swedge depth and things like that. It's a little bit thicker than the standard S1, I believe, and maybe the same thickness as the A1, or sorry, the S1 Pro. So if you're thinking Fallkniven now, you've got your basic number, so a letter than number series, so S1, F1, A1, A2. Then you've got the Pro series, so the S1 Pro, F1 Pro, A1 Pro, and they're the most expensive. The Pro ones still are, so they're sort of the Rolls Royce, or the highest end ones. These are about in the middle of pricing, so this is costing between an S1 and an S1 Pro. The Pro Series have things like stainless steel guards and sort of really wide overbuilt sheaths and things like that. But yeah, another thing about this coating, just before I forget, is that it's very prone to showing fingerprints. Now, kind of a dumb thing to really worry about at all, because ideally you're going to be using this for rugged jobs, because you've gone and got yourself the strongest apparent type of Fallkniven, so we'll see. But it's still something to, if you are just going to keep this in your house to look at, you're going to be wiping your fingerprints off the coating all the time, which is fine. One thing I did notice is that from the factory, the edge wasn't as crazy sharp as some Fallknivens have come. I think that may be a coating issue. I think the coating might go all the way to the edge. So probably a quick sharpen or a quick buff or polish will probably sort that out. As you can see, it does still slice paper pretty well, and this is really sort of knife nerd nitpicky stuff, but just thought I'd bring it up. Not as crazy sharp as I've had Fallknivens in the past. For example, it doesn't shave hair off my arm. It just kind of rolls over the top of it and pulls off a bit of dead skin, but that's it. So there's that too. Now the sheath. The sheath is the finest iteration of the sheath. I can already tell that. It's they finally got away from that locking strap, and they've put this little locking lever here, which pushes this tab down and just puts pressure on the knife puts pressure this way on the knife. There's a little tooth here where that forward finger, or that finger guard of the knife, locks into the sheath, and when this is locked and pushed that way, you can't pull the knife out of the sheath. When you unlock it, the mechanism is really simple to see. Remove that plastic tooth from here, so the pressure is released, so now you can sort of give it a slight, and out it comes. So really, really well done. That being said, there isn't really much rattle reduction or anything like that. It's still the same issues that people are going to have if they've never liked these Zytel sheaths. They rattle, and that's just something you have to deal with. But the rationale behind is, so if you freeze the knife or it's really cold, that rattle is what sort of gets you a bit of a leeway to get your knife out. So I think that's the philosophy they go with, at any rate. Still just a nylon loop. There is some sort of thickening here, so you can put some strappings through it. You could perhaps mount it sideways, or just mount it to a leg or something similar, just to support it, I guess, if you're putting it on a rigid system. So there's that too. But yeah, I'm really happy with this this locking system. It just makes a lot of sense, and people have had that issue at least with the old sheaths for a long time. So that's cool. Now, as I said, this is not a review, this is just the things I've noticed. The quality levels are certainly there. These are made in Japan for Fallkniven. And yeah, the quality is high. The steel is laminated COS, so it's about their mid-tier steel. Fallkniven do some upper-end knives in Cowrie X, which is like ZDP 189, and then their basic knives are in VG10. Yet to take this to any form of knife lab style testing, but from what I've been told by, say, Martin over at DBK, it's one of the best sort of overall hard-use stainless steels you can get. So the coating in this instance, probably not particularly there for rust resistance, probably there for aesthetics. It isn't anti-reflective, so it's probably not there for stealth, it's just there, I don't know, because some people like coated blades, and that's totally cool. So those are the things I can pick right now that are new or different on the S1 Pro, or sorry, the S1 X. There'll be obviously a proper review and a proper video coming. I just wanted to get a quick little thing out there, because I've been really hanging to get this, and I was hoping to have seen a video like this before I went and got mine, just so you know sort of what page you're on when you're hitting buy. So there you go, S1X. Still to come on this channel, I've ordered the A1X in satin as well, and I've also ordered an F1 Pro, so it's kind of Fallkniven month, just to get all these out and see what their differences are. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.